I lived in a commune in St. Louis. 11 people lived in the commune. 9 of those people are now became devotees. 7 of those people still are devotees. And 5 of those people live here in Alachua. When I was in my junior year of high school, I kind of fell in with a, shall we say, non-mainstream group of people, mostly musicians and theater people, and a rather avant-garde gang. And of course, we freely participated in all the available entertainments of the late 60s and early 70s. And in this so-called enlightened state, the first thing I naturally did was become a vegetarian. Becoming a vegetarian opened up my consciousness to inquire about yoga. So I started taking yoga classes. And, you know, it was just rudimentary physical yoga. There was not, but, you know, all yoga practice has some kind of little spiritual something to it, you know. Even if it's just basic, it's got some quasi-spiritual thing. So that kind of started me down that direction. As a result, I came in contact with the people that owned a health food store in a suburb in North St. Louis, Ferguson. Place they lived a little further out north. At the time, of course now it's in the middle of the suburbs, but at the time it was on the edge of being in the country. And they had an acre or two there in a commune, and people lived there and grew a few things, and then they ran this health food store communally. So when I graduated from high school, I moved into that place. At that time, most of the people that had founded that were beginning to make a transition, unknown to me, beginning to make a transition into Krishna consciousness. Actually, I said I'd never met the devotees, but at the very beginning of that, I was taken to the temple once. And I vaguely remembered it just years after the fact of having gone, and just this kind of surreal, dare I use the word LSD kind of experience of colors and sounds and, as Prabhupada would say, phantasmagoria, you know, that I couldn't compute. I had nothing to relate it to, nothing, you know. But that kind of got quickly swept to my lower consciousness, or to my back consciousness, not something I've remembered clearly. One by one, the different people that had been there started to join the St. Louis Temple. You know, first there was this one, and then there was that one, and then there was this one, and then the last 3 holdouts were myself, one of the ladies that lives here in the community, and her husband of the time. The 3 of us were hitchhiking all over America at that time, in between stints of living in this commune. When we hitchhiked, we carried 3 packs. One was our sleeping gear, one was our clothes, and one was Prabhupada's books. And whoever picked us up, we gave him a book. Now, of course, we were by no means shining examples of Krishna conscious practice, but we knew this was it. You know, like most hippies at the time, we knew this was the real thing. I really sincerely believe that that little bit of book distribution, if you will, kind of cleared the path for me, despite all of my bad habits in the form of intoxication. When we came back to St. Louis after traveling, the commune had more or less disintegrated because everybody had moved into the temple except the 2 founding members and the 3 of us. And we weren't there, so the 2 founding members, a husband and wife, they had moved to southern Missouri and something. So we ended up living in the basement of the next door neighbor of the commune, who was, to be polite, a heroin addict. And it was a very rocky scenario. We were living in the basement. The person we were spending most of our time with at that time was very well known as the main conduit for certain types of intoxication into the St. Louis area at the time. And so at any rate, we were partaking in that regularly. And I remember that each of the experiences in that intoxicated state that myself and these other 2 individuals had Krishna in the center of it. Now, of course, in retrospect, it really, you know, it was just our illusions of intoxication, but somehow it was moving us in that direction. Until one point, I came to a realization that this was really the key thing that moved me into the temple. I came to the realization that I have to surrender to Krishna. I had been thinking I'll go to India and find a guru, and then I started thinking, well, maybe I'll find a guru somewhere in America. And then I realized, you know, the guru is just down there on Laclede Street. I might as well just go and surrender. But I was hanging on to this intoxication. So having gained that realization one night, I realized I have to give up this intoxication. I have to go join the temple. But being habituated towards bad habits, as Prabhupada says, not having anything to substitute it with yet, the next day I again partook of this intoxication, and Krishna removed all the pleasure. Everything was still going on, all the sensations and lights and sounds and all the melting walls and all that kind of stuff, but there was actually no enjoyment. I was bored stiff. And I realized that Krishna had done me a favor and taken away all the pleasure from that, so there was nothing left for me. So the next morning I got up and I told these other two devotee friends, or now devotees, I said, I'm going to join the temple. This was the Sunday immediately after Gaur Purnima, 1973. And I went out on the highway and I put my thumb out and put my hand in my pocket. And I put my hand in my pocket and I felt something. I pulled it out and there were 3 tablets of some very powerful intoxicant. And I looked at that and I looked at my thumb and I looked at that and I looked at my thumb and I threw down the intoxication, and immediately a car pulled over and picked me up and drove me right to the front door of the temple, which was no short distance. It was at least some 30 miles away. What's that Prabhupada says, when we take 1 step to Krishna, he takes 10 steps to us. So there you go.